This is Captain.
All right, everybody, we are about to get started. Once again, thank all of you for coming out and checking out this class. This is the 5th class. I decided to kind of switch it up every 4 classes. I was going to switch it up, do something a little different because I've been getting so technical with the physiology, the chemistry, the sciences. I said, let me just make some food, because what all I'm talking about, it doesn't matter if people don't know what to do when they get back home. Like, man, that was deep, but how can I use it tonight? You know what I'm saying? So I figure, let me just do a real simple meal. Now, I had it down to either eggplant or squash, and the reason why I had it down to those two is because when I did a previous class, I had 2 people here. One of them is here right now, who was stating that, you know, they don't like it. Like, in every way and capacity they ever had eggplant, it was horrible, and squash has not been nothing that they've ever enjoyed. So I was like, that's because people don't know how to make it. It's like, if you find the right person to make it, that's like in meat with steak. The first time somebody ate a steak, it was rubbery because it was cooked in a microwave or something. You probably will never like steak until somebody cooks it a certain way that you like it. You know, just to translate, hey, how you doing? Get your sample. Go and get your sample. She's like, ooh. So I just wanted to show that with a little bit of time and patience, you'll find yourself eating things that you normally probably would have never eaten before. And it's spices that does the trick, okay? The first trade, the first hustle, the first grind on this planet was the spice trade. All right, it was exchanging of the plants. All right, even with the whole Columbus thing, him coming over here, he was like looking for black pepper. They had him looking for spices, you know. And why? Because, you know, if you're thinking back in the day, what's the one thing that's going to transcend your produce, transcend your agriculture, transcend your food is going to be the spice. It's going to be the taste. Very good is a good thing. All right, so the star in this meal that all of y'all are tasting and probably can't quite get what that flavor is called saffron. Anybody ever heard of saffron?
Yep. Cook with it.
Yeah, okay. Now, saffron is, when we talking spice trade, saffron is cannabis in the spice trade. To get 1 pound of saffron, you need 10 racks. It's $10,000 a pound because it's a little purple flower with the little stigma sticking out, and they have to pluck the stigma out of it. Now, he probably seen Ratatouille. Anybody see Ratatouille in here? With the rat? That was the spice. That was the big spice in the movie. They actually showed the flower. Got these 3 red stigmas sticking out. They pull those without disturbing, obviously, the dye, you know, the natural dye on it, you know, and then they process. Of course, they got different grades, but it's a, I think it's called Benexin or Betexin, which is the name of the chemical. Y'all can Google it. It definitely starts with a B. But if you Google it, you'll find out that that's the red dye that's inside of the saffron that gives it its optical properties. What makes foods and spices so dynamic is its aromaticity. Okay? I spoke on this before. Like, it doesn't matter what I call a meal. What matters is how it smells. Like, it could even look horrible, but if it smells a certain way, like, you might give it a chance. Okay? If I had a bowl of boo-boo and it smelled like your favorite meal, but it looked like the boo-boo, you probably be more apt eating it than if it smelled like boo-boo and looked good. No? Chili, right? I'll give you another example. If I put a plate in front of your face and when you look at it, it's unrecognizable. It just looks like it's some mush on there, but it smells amazing. You're more than likely going to take that spoon and taste it and say, oh, wow, this is actually good. Like, might not look that good, but it tastes delicious. But if I gave you a meal that looked amazing, but it smelled like excrement, like you're not going to eat that thing because smell influences what we eat so much. All right, so very powerful because they got something in there called lycopene. The same way the saffron has their pigmented chemical, lycopene is the tomato's pigmented chemical. All these chemicals, whether you're talking lycopene, carotene, xanthan, these are all red, orange, yellow colors that play a pivotal role in your eye health. All right, your retinas, they're called retinas, and you use a protein named retinol along with light in order for us to see everything. All right. However, the retinas back in the back of your eye are composed of different pigments. The same way you got black and white, you got the black-white cartridge by itself, and then you have color cartridges in the printer store. The color cartridge is always a combination of colors. Your retinas are the same way. You got red, green, blue. All right. So you have these particular pigments that are inside these foods that play as antioxidants inside the body, and they also help you with your eye health. All right, so one of the main ones is called lycopene inside of the tomato. Matter of fact, their Latin name, their family, I think, is called Lycopena. So they named the tomato actually after its active pigment that's inside of it that makes it red, yellow, orange, different colors that tomatoes come in. So same thing, cut in half. All right, I lay them flat. All right, I cut them into 4, and then I slice them in half, the 4 into half, so I get 8 pieces off each half, so 16 total. And I just chunk them up. I cut them to the side. All right, make sure we got a lot of pictures so you can see them from all the angles. Cut them in half, cut them to the side, so that at the end we have, there we go. At the end we have a collection of all these tomato chunks. I put them in a pan, same like aluminum pan like you got there. If you got a baking dish, you know, whatever you got at home, you throw them in there. I put a little olive oil on there, and what you see here are sprigs of thyme. Sprig is a twig, fancy way of saying twig. So some sprigs of thyme that I put in there. You could put basil. I also put cardamom pods. Has anybody ever heard of cardamom? Yes. Okay, cardamom, great flavor. Once again, aromatic. It could be in a plastic bag, but you still smell it. Okay? You still smell it, and that's because of the aromatic rings that make up the compounds of these particular herbs. And what they do is they get with the pigments, they get with the color. All this stuff starts to marinate, and then when you pull it out the oven, you know, you get yourself a masterpiece, you know? All right, so yeah, I got some bay leaves in there. I got some thyme. All right, and then what I did, the same thing I did with the zucchini in the yellow squash, zucchini and yellow squash, pan in the oven, tomatoes pan in the oven, 350. Probably initially, if I'm doing it in the oven, a good hour, because you want the zucchini to sweat and get soft. You want the tomatoes to sweat and get soft. They're going to start to break down so all the flavors can start to come together. And the funny thing about stuff in the oven, or even things on the stove when they're very hot, don't taste anything when it's extremely hot, because you're not going to really taste the flavor of it yet. You ever notice, you ever cook any beans or any type of soup, and no matter how much salt you put in there, you still don't taste anything? Yeah, that's because it's hot. And until it cools and sits, the temperature drops, that's when you'll be able to detect the flavors. That's why sometimes it'll cool down, and then you'll taste, you'll be like, oh man, I didn't put too much salt up in there now. So never taste your food when it's piping hot. Always let that thing cool down first, so that you can really taste the balance of the flavors. All right, so on this cutting board right here, we're gonna get into the spice profile now. I got some ginger. Okay. Now, in addition to that, spices are not just meant to just be sprinkled on top of something. Like you got a pizza and you're sprinkling red pepper flakes and your oregano on it. Sometimes it takes different steps to really have spices shine. Like saffron doesn't shine in everything. And if you put too much saffron, it'll turn the food bitter. You gotta be careful, you know, overpower it, and then it'll turn the food bitter. So you gotta know the right portion to put in here. In this case, I'm doing a roasting in the oven of fennel, coriander, and cumin. And by putting it in the heat in the oven, the natural oils inherent in the spices come to the surface. And it just smells amazing. Like you feel like you could just eat the seeds on their own. But by bringing the oils to the surface, now when I get into like the saute round, where I got my oils in there, that's going to diffuse in the oil a lot more easily. It's going to be way more robust because of the roasting. Don't roast too long, it will burn because there's oils inside of the spice. So you know, you put it in the oven. If the oven's been preheated and it's 350, you leave it in there maybe a minute and a half, maybe just under 2 minutes. Watch it, because if that thing's smoked, then throw that thing away.
Using aluminum?
Yeah, that's aluminum foil. That's aluminum foil. In regard, depends on the context. If you let me know where you're getting at, then I can tell you. Yeah, an ingredient in your deodorant or your toothpaste would be bad because we're talking about ions, small, that can get inside your blood and things like that. Here we're talking about a sheet of aluminum. You know, aluminum is what carries all the power outside on all those big lines. You know, but I'm using this for a minute and a half also. You know, in regards to roast the seeds. And like I said, that my goal in all of this is not to be perfect. Like, you're gonna find, people will find all types of holes in my cookbook and my recipes when I'm cooking. My point is to make sure that when people cook this food, it is good to the point that they will cook it again and stop going to the fast food. Once you start doing that, somebody tell me what's another name for coriander?
Parsley.
There we go. You said parsley at first. I'll say, hey, no. Close but no cigar. All right, so this is saffron, y'all. I want you to pass it around and take a whiff. Take a whiff of that thing, right? You smell that?
You can't keep it for yourself.
That thing is light. Oh yeah, definitely. I know, right? Spanish countries use that a lot. That's in the paella, which is a very popular dish in Spain. A lot of the yellow rices contain that in there. So like I said before, zucchini, all right, for those, yellow squash, okay, tomato, ginger, nice bulb of ginger right there, okay. And then the quinoa is a mix of red and gold, all right. Red takes longer to cook for those who haven't used red quinoa or black quinoa. Each quinoa takes longer to cook than the last. The gold quinoa is quick. It's just like rice, no problem. The red quinoa, a little bit more love. You don't cook it long enough, you'll be chewing it, you know. But it cracks and opens up just like the gold does, and it has a nice flavor, a little bit more nutty. But the black takes even longer, and that one kind of stays crunchy. So it's like each quinoa represents like different types of rice. You know, you got like your sushi rice, then you got like your al dente rice where the grains are perfectly uniform, you know, and then you got like mushy rice. So the quinoas kind of follow that same thing where the black one has a little bit more grit to it. The red is kind of a balance in between, and then the gold is real soft. Everybody got their whiff in? What y'all think? Nice, right? And the thing is, you bring that out in a meal, like it's intoxicating. So those are the items. Put it in a pan, olive oil, very low heat. I want the oil to not smoke. You know, I don't want anything to start frying. I just want little bubbles starting to pop up. And you'll feel the heat and you'll smell everything. You'll smell the bay leaf. You'll smell the things you put in the oven. You'll smell the ginger. You'll smell all that stuff. Like, you'll start to work it. And right when the oil is warm, right before it takes off, just start to stir. Start to stir it all together. Mix it all up. All right? And let that go for about red seeds inside, and you can dissolve it in oil, and the oil becomes red. A lot of Dominican, Caribbean kitchens, they utilize annatto in a lot of their meals. What was you about to say?
Oh, no.
I thought you were about to say something. Okay. So red, yellow, you mix red and yellow together, you get orange. You see what I'm saying? So I put the turmeric in here to kind of give it some more color pop, along with the tomato, you know. And it really brings it out strong. I put annatto in it before too, and it made it this orange that was like that painting right there in the corner. Like, it was this fluorescent. It was crazy. But sometimes, you know, those elements make the dish too, especially if you're plating and you're putting the meal down and you got like a black rice or like a black quinoa, and you have this orange creamy, you know, and then you put your little arugula or something green on top. And before you even eat it, like, you're having fun in your mind, because it's like, man, this thing looks so good, you know? And that's what you want. You don't want your meal to consist of a slab of meat with juices dripping off the thing. Like, no. So here is me dropping some arugula inside the pot as well. I usually put the arugula in fresh near the end, and it keeps it green. I put it in before I put it back in the oven. So I mixed all the items together in the pot, and I poured it back in the pan with a couple more dollops of the coconut milk, and then put it back in the oven for a good 30 minutes, covered. Remove cover about another 15 to 20. To kind of get that excess water out, and kind of give it that crisp on the edges and things like that. And that is the result based on those steps. So real simple. Like, of course, it's steps involved. It takes some time, but you can do this one day out the week, make a whole lot, put it in the fridge, and you got something, you know, that you know is good, that's delicious. And the best part about this dish, the longer it sit, the better it get. Like, y'all think it's good now. Like, tomorrow, banging. You know, this weekend, if it makes it, you know, it's even better. So. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, like I said, running through the steps of the dish, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to, because there wasn't a ticket on the door today, we're just having a ticket for the food. The food's only 10 to get the full plate, if y'all are interested in it. So y'all can go over there and get something to eat, and then when y'all come back and y'all eating, we can do a Q&A, and y'all can ask any questions so I can elaborate on the meal or any other pointers y'all might need cooking in the future. And I make fonio, so I usually make the callaloo stew, and then I put fonio on top. That's usually how I get down. Any other questions? Yes?
What about sprinkling hemp seed?
Oh yeah, hemp seeds over a dish is great, because that's also another source of omega-3. Their ratio's not that bad. We were talking about the whole protein thing earlier. Hemp powder, like, anybody who's trying to get protein powders and stuff like that, hemp powder will do it for you. Especially if you do your shake with powder and the milk.
No.
You know what I mean? No, the hemp milk.
Okay.
Not milk.
Oh.
No, never, ever. Did he do that to me? Never. No, we don't do dairy up in here.
Right.
I said all
Nut milks.
That's what I said.
But no, the hemp, you do a hemp milk combination along with the hemp powder, like that's a great protein shake, what they call it.
So, I was told eating after 7, you lose all the nutrients within the day.
11. No, it's not that you lose all the nutrients in the day. What it is
something
11
like
to 7 is your window
Right.
to get it all in. Okay. Like your mom might say, you know, it's school night, after your homework, you got 2 hours to play video games. I catch you playing it after that, I'm taking your games away.
Right.
Okay, so it's like that. You got 11 to 7 to get your food in. This is the time when your hydrochloric acid is working. This is the time where your enzymes are breaking certain things down. This is when your body is absorbing and using its metabolism. After 7 o'clock, especially in the wintertime, what is it? It's dark. No sun. Circadian rhythm is telling you produce melatonin to induce sleep so you can go to bed. Can't go to sleep and rejuvenate a quantum body if it's chock full of stuff,
right.
you know. And I'm not even talking about my wonderful squash nebula. I'm talking about pizza, oodles and noodles, hamburger, 8, 9 o'clock. Like, it ain't going nowhere. It's just going to sit there all night. And you wonder why you dreamt of the buck-tooth polka dot flamingo that was chasing you down the alley.
Right.
You end up sweating.
No, that
Like,
happens for real.
buck-tooth polka dot flamingos, not needing pigeon toed, chasing you down the alley. Get up like, what happened? You know? That's what I'm saying. And that is the best way for your body to translate the constipation to you visually. Everything is just out of sorts. Yeah.
I want to see if you know anything about like the ramen noodles and why it's
Untouchables. Because it's plastic. I find it's a real gangster name because I know the Untouchables like Elliot Ness and Al Capone. Uh-oh. Any other? Oh.
With all this conversation about cooking, there's many different ways to prepare the food, of course.
Yes.
I've been off of microwaves for about 4 weeks, and I'm feeling kind of impeccable right now.
Oh, yeah. So, microwaves. Microwaves will kill you. Microwaves will kill you every single time. Microwaves dehydrate your food. That's what it does. It pulls the water out. Okay? That's why people who eat meat cannot prepare meat in a microwave, because the first thing it does is pull all the water out and turns it into like a rubber tire. Like, you can't eat it. You know, and it does the same thing to produce and does the same thing to everything else. These small little microwaves induce radiation poisoning inside of us. You know, it charges the food. I don't even want to say charges. Charges sound like a good thing, but it mutates the food. It irradiates the food. That'd be better. It irradiates it, and we transfer the what happened to that food to our system when we consume it. Now, I don't care if we heated something up for 2.5 minutes or we got it in there for 20. And I know it's not just me. I've used microwaves before, and every time I've put something on, the more scared you are. Like 2-3 minutes warming something up real quick, in, out, okay, that's cool. When you got something in there for 20-25 minutes, you coming back, you looking, you seeing all those sweat buds going up inside there. Then you pull that thing out. I mean, when you do microwave meals and stuff like that, they have them things for a long period of time. Lasagnas and all that type of stuff. And you put them out there, and the cheese is like burnt plastic. You know when you burn plastic, you know, it's horrible. So I suggest anybody who got a microwave, the only role that a microwave can play in a kitchen, in my opinion, is a nice place to store leftover food overnight if you don't feel like doing dishes right away. Like, throw it in the mic, close the door. That's it. Turning it on? No, don't turn it. Or a timer. That's why I use the one that's in the place I'm at, because I got a microwave in there. I use the timer. Yeah, the clock, exactly. That's digital. That's all I use it for.
What about the convection oven?
Oh, convection ovens are good too. The little small ones that are on top of the counter.
You
Yeah.
got like the microwave combo convection.
Well, those aren't the same. That's not the same microwaves, so to speak, as in a microwave. That's dealing with a radiation, infrared heat, and dealing with the science of convection. This, like when I was explaining how to cook an eggplant. You stab the holes in the eggplant, you cover it in oil, you cover it, put it in the oven, and the skin traps moisture inside the eggplant, but then you also have the puncture holes to create a vent to create that whole cycle. So convection ovens are cool. I wouldn't put them in the same class, but it's not as bad as a lot of people make it look, you know.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem.
for bad.
Well, Arteries get clogged based on homocysteine content raising, which is based on your B12 and folate levels dropping. In addition to that, the inflammatory responses get induced because the omega-3, omega-6 ratios are way off. Where you're getting way more omega-6 in than omega-3s, which induces inflammation, which creates all these cardiovascular issues and problems. It's not the oil, so to speak, but what oil, you know? And then make sure you're not letting it smoke. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad everybody enjoyed the food. I hope that y'all were able to just take the notes, you know, off this basic dish, go home, have fun. It don't gotta be like that. It could be your own. And then what you do is you take what you did with the zucchini and the squash, apply those same principles to other produce, and just have fun. And if it comes out horrible, it's okay. Guess what? It's not plastic. It goes right back in the ground. It's all right. The earth will take it back up. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna spit it back out. You go and you try again, and just keep on until you develop your flavor profile and get back to cooking again.